Baby Driver. Was it any good? Yeah, it was totally good. I went and checked this movie out today with my buddy Chad, who's in town. I've been thinking I wanted to do more review type stuff on this channel, so I'm going to try it out. I'm going to try it out on this one. Baby Driver was written and directed by Edgar Wright, who's done a lot of movies I like, apparently. Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, which is probably my all-time favorite movie. As well as Scott Pilgrim versus the World. I want to check that one out now. Anyway, I got convinced to go check out this movie today. We've been talking about it for a couple days. And what ended up happening was I went in without knowing anything about the movie, so when I start talking about it, take that with a grain of salt. I had just watched the preview maybe an hour before we went to the theater. So I didn't know much about it, just that I knew I liked Edgar Wright's movies. So no expectations, which was really helpful. What I found out was he uses music like it's its own character in this movie. So that's the first thing I want to say right off the bat. Main character, who's played by Ansel Elgort, who he's done, like, I think he was in Divergence and some other things. He does a great job, but the whole score is delivered through his earbuds. And what makes the music so great and makes it its own character is the editing. And usually I say great editing happens or is apparent when you don't notice it. In this case, it's completely the opposite. What's great is the way that the score is lined up with the visual, with the images, is to punctuate those images. So anytime something happens in the music, there's an action that's happening on screen. And I'm trying to show you with my hands. It's not working. So there's in the very beginning, you notice he's going to get coffee for the crew. You know, he's jumping, he's like bumping into people, he's almost dancing. You can see him dance. But what's cool is, as the audience member, you're experiencing that music and you're seeing his movements actually punctuate the music, and so it actually starts to feel like a dance. So at one point he takes off his earbud and he starts to talk to a barista about getting coffee ordered, and the lyrics to the music say, yeah, yeah, yeah. And he says, yeah, yeah, yeah. And so it's like he's the one he's singing the music to the guy without, in a very deliberate way. So you can tell that he's completely immersed in this world that he lives in. And this world is his music. So there's a ton of these little nuancy things that happen throughout the movie. The visuals taking place line up with the music taking place. There's a gunfight right before the third act where they're firing in 3-round bursts, and these 3-round bursts perfectly line up with the song that's playing, and it's so effective. I was really, really excited about that. Music is its own character. With that is the editing. So like I said, usually good editing is not being able to notice that things are being edited. The car stunts in this film were so much fun. I haven't had this much fun watching car stunts. I mean, like odd car maneuvers since Ronin, which was a film in the 90s with Robert De Niro about the CIA. And, you know, some people might say, oh, well, have you seen Fast and the Furious? And yeah, there's some real car stunts that happen, but everything in it felt believable, which was awesome. Spectacular, but believable. It's all like really small potatoes driving through the back alleys and things like that, which is really exciting. You see him do a lot of brake stuff where he's like cutting and doing really tight, not corners, but like flipping from going backwards, from reverse to forwards. It was really fun, really exciting. It kept the tension really high because you're really excited to see, is this group of people gonna make it through? And slammed right up next to that is the fact that these are all criminals. So if you're not sure what the film is about, basically it's a heist film. So they go through and they're robbing banks. So on the one hand, these are anti-heroes. They're on the wrong side of the law, but you relate to most of them in some way or another, and you want them to succeed. You see them as people. What I like about that is there was no kick the dog moment. There was at no point where the writer just took a scene to just kick the dog so that we knew, oh, we're not supposed to like this guy. There was also no specific save the cat moment. There was just actually good characterization to make you like one set of characters and to make you dislike another set of characters. So I really found that effective. As I said, Ansel Elgort, he did a great job. You see he's the driver. He's the one who's doing all these stunts. And right away you see that he's not there by choice. He's not a criminal by choice. He's there due to unfortunate circumstances, and he's trying to get out. But then at the end, of course, he gets pulled back in, and he has to go do something because he wants to protect the things that he does still have, which isn't much. Well, you have these other heist characters who either endear themselves to Baby or they antagonize Baby, and that's how you differentiate the two. For example, Buddy and Darling are great examples, because in the beginning you see one guy obviously doesn't like Baby because he's got his headphones in, he's not paying any attention to what Doc is saying. Doc is the boss guy, so he's feeling like, why does this guy get the same cut as I do? He's not doing anything. He's not being the eyes and ears that a driver is supposed to be. Then you have Buddy come up and say, oh yeah, I was a driver once, so do you have like that song that really gets you pumped when you know you got to get away? And so they kind of bond over this, Buddy and Baby. What is really great is there's a turn in the end where Jamie Foxx's character is kind of the main antagonist for most of the movie. Then at the end it really turns it on its head, and I don't know how many spoilers I should do, but suffice it to say that the ending is really fun, and it really draws you in. It draws you in because what ends up happening is you have two characters that you like pitted against each other for one reason or another. And this is what I mean when there's not a real kick the dog moment. You don't just hate a character because you know you're supposed to hate a character. It's not a melodrama. You can see why this character feels the way he does, and you don't really begrudge him for feeling that way, but you understand that these two can't exist in the same world anymore. So I thought that was really, really fun. So editing, really good. It was so immersive. And I think that was really due to the editing and the music syncing up. The second thing was the driving. The driving was so much fun, and it gave you just visual tension, which is what movies are supposed to do, is to give you this brilliant visual tension. And if you're racing a car in and out through traffic, you're tense. It's super effective. The next thing was the plot. The plot was really well constructed. The pacing is really, really good. You do have this B-love story happening that ties itself into the ending, right, going into the third act. If you've watched Riders of the Dawn at all, we talk about that third act where you have the dark night of the soul, where the character feels like he or she's not going to be able to do what they're supposed to do, and then suddenly there's a way to do it, and you have to go forward. So that love story ties in there. Deborah's character, Deborah is played by Lily James. She did a great job. I think that she played the part very well. At the end, I had some problems with her motivation. They do a really good job of characterizing why she feels this way. She and Baby relate really well because they're both basically orphans. They empathize with each other because they both have this escapist feeling, like they need to get out of where they are and they want to run away. And there's a line where they talk about getting on the highway, driving west in a car that they can't afford, and a plan they don't have. So I really like that, because that they set that up in the first act and they take it into the third act. It's very, very well set up. It's a very well constructed piece of craft. So I really appreciated that. But like I said, her character feels like she does what she's supposed to do at the end, and it doesn't sound like a criticism, but that's what I felt about it. That's the only way I can put it, because it serves the story really well. It does what it's supposed to do. It gives Baby something to look towards, and maybe I'm just kind of a jaded asshole, but I look at how she responds to Baby at the end after figuring out that he's involved in criminal things, and I question the motives, and that's really my biggest critique, honestly, of the film, because it's still believable. The thing is, I know too many of my single friends who would see the things that Deborah did and would say, no rational person would do this. But it's a movie, so I can certainly forgive that. The plot was really good kind of 3-act structure, where you see in the first act, you see Baby, you see him doing something that he doesn't really want to do, or you see him doing something, and then you have this first big plot point where you see that he's doing it against his will. Like, he owes Doc something, and we don't really figure out why that is until you really travel through the second act. And the pacing, like I said, is done really well through the second act, where we even see little flashbacks to Baby's past. It helps us empathize even more with that character. So you set him up as an anti-hero, because he is, even though we empathize with him and we know he's doing something that he doesn't want to do, he's still an anti-hero. He's doing things that are against the law for bad reasons. Well, not even for bad reasons, but he's doing antisocial things. He does a lot of things to endear you along the way, to make sure that at the end you don't see him as an anti-hero, because that's really his character growth, is to go from being an anti-hero to a normal human being, because he's not even really a hero. But he's on the hero's journey, if that makes sense. So I want to keep this as short as I can, because I don't want to gush about it. It was really fun. I don't get out to the movies a whole lot with a 1-year-old, so it was really nice to get out. I need to make sure that I get out and let my wife do it now. So if you liked this, I would really appreciate a like and a subscribe down below. And definitely, if you're really interested in story, my brand new book, Immortal Fear, is going to be coming out at the beginning of August. If you want some updates on that, you can join my email list down below, where I'll give you a free sample of that book, and you can get a little taste of character development and story. You can also get my my previous book, Cloaked in Darkness, for free right now on Amazon, and I'll give you another link for that in the description, as well as a link over to the Riders of the Dawn channel, where you can check out our many hours of story discussion with my good friend David V. Stewart. And again, thanks for sticking around to chat. I'll see you later.